Oh my God!
Did you see the South Park episode?
Which one?
They did a Donald Trump one with Satan.
No.
It's
okay.
this Trump event with Satan.
Satan's back.
Satan's upset at Trump.
It's a great show, but I haven't seen that episode.
When you think, like Bridget Fedesi had a funny quote, like when you think that they have reached the bottom of the highest level of not giving a fuck, they reach unseen levels.
Yeah, I love the show. Is fantastic. I raised my 3 boys on that show, much to my wife's horror.
Did you ever think you'd see the day when Joe Rogan, of all people, would laugh hysterically at a brutal South Park roast of Donald Trump? This unexpected twist has everyone buzzing, and the irony is almost too much to handle. But why is Rogan cracking up at someone he once backed? And what does this outrageous scene involving Trump and Satan actually mean? Let's unpack the wild satire, the cultural reversal, and the epic fallout from this jaw-dropping episode. Before we move on, I would like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. What happens when South Park puts Donald Trump in bed with Satan? Well, you get a satirical nightmare so outrageous, it becomes the most talked about roast of the year. In this particular episode, the creators didn't just push boundaries, they lit them on fire and danced in the ashes. Picture this: Donald Trump and Satan sharing a bed surrounded by dramatic red lighting, casually discussing their connection to Jeffrey Epstein's infamous list. It's absurd, it's crude, and somehow it actually makes you laugh and cringe at the same time. South Park's ability to dive headfirst into the most taboo topics has always been its trademark, but this was a different level of chaos. They didn't just poke fun at Trump, they unleashed a full-on lampoon festival, complete with his exaggerated physical features. His hair was extra floppy, his skin practically glowing like a cheap spray tan gone wrong, and his voice was ratcheted up to cartoonish levels of whiny narcissism. Even his signature hand gestures became even more over the top, making it impossible for anyone watching not to recognize who the butt of the joke was.
Mr. President, sir, the Prime Minister of Canada is here to see you.
Mr. President, why are you placing these new tariffs on Canada? What are you, some kind of dictator from the Middle East? The people of Canada will not be devalued like this.
Come on, you don't want me to bomb you like I did Iraq? A dictator from the Middle East? Hey, relax, guy. I'm just your average Joe. Take a rest.
I thought you just bombed Iran.
Iraq, what the hell's the difference? Relax, guy.
What made this all explode online, though, wasn't just the absurdity of the plot, it was how accurate the parody felt. South Park has tackled political figures before, from George W. Bush to Barack Obama, but their Trump portrayal didn't hold back a single punch. While their takes on other presidents were biting and clever, this mocked Trump in a way that felt uniquely scathing. South Park didn't just roast him, they seasoned the roast with a full spice rack of his most notorious traits and serve it with a devilish grin. After the episode aired, it wasn't just South Park's usual fan base talking. A quick look at Google Trends tells the story. Searches for South Park Trump Satan and Trump South Park episodes skyrocketed within hours. And even fans loyal to Trump, the ones who usually dismiss satire as biased nonsense, found themselves tuned in, not necessarily to laugh, but to see how bad the roasting would get. South Park turned what could have been another predictable jab into a cultural event, forcing everyone to take notice. The fallout reached even more bizarre levels when the rumored White House response leaked. Allegedly, they dismissed the episode, stating that South Park was irrelevant for the past 20 years. But here's the irony. That rebuttal only made people talk about the episode even more. Being called irrelevant by Trump's team feels like a badge of honor, and South Park wore it proudly. The creators have never cared much for approval, least of all from the likes of Trump. The irrelevance label was just fuel to the fire, drawing even more attention to how the episode humiliated Trump in a way that stung. Imagine hosting someone at your table, praising them, giving them the spotlight, and then, years later, laughing at their most humiliating moment. That's the scenario Joe Rogan just delivered to Donald Trump. Once a figure who gave Trump a place in his world, Rogan is now cracking up at South Park's brutal takedown of the former president, calling the episode "fucking hilarious" without a hint of hesitation. So what happened? What changed? And why does Rogan's laughter hit so much harder than the gag itself? To understand the shift, let's start with Rogan's history with Trump.
Also, as a person who likes Donald Trump, who understands how he won, who understands how he lost, and then understands how he won again, the South Park thing was hilarious. It was really funny. South Park, which is a pretty blue show, pretty MA, pretty R-rated at times, and watching the straight-laced people on the news in the United States where you cannot say a swear, how they described what was a pretty blue episode. Had a previous relationship with Saddam Hussein. It's a cartoon. Previous relationship with. I love the way they do it.
Back in 2020, Rogan's massive podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, was a haven for discussions that fed into Trump's messaging. While never an outright campaign surrogate, Rogan leaned into many of the talking points Trump's fans loved. He praised Trump's energy, entertained conspiracy theories tying into Trump's narrative, and amplified skeptical takes on mainstream media that aligned with Trump's fake news mantra. Now fast forward to Rogan laughing about South Park putting Trump in bed with none other than Satan. The sheer irony is thick enough to cut with a knife. Here's a guy who once gave Trump space in the conversation, openly mocking him like it's the easiest joke he's ever heard. His laughter wasn't just about the absurdity of the cartoon, it felt like a shift from someone who no longer sees the need to tread carefully around Trump's image. Rogan didn't defend the former president, didn't downplay the satire, he joined in completely. And somehow that seemed to sting even more than the original punchline.
Today, a White House spokesperson issued a statement saying in part, quote, South Park hasn't been relevant for more than 20 years. Comedy Central South Park was created by Trey Parker and Matt Stone. The season premiere of the show last night included a scene of President Donald Trump lying in bed with Satan. It went on to say the fourth-rate show was hanging on by a thread by uninspired ideas in an attempt for attention. The show's parent company, Paramount, has not issued a response.
Think about it. When strangers laugh at you, it's easy to brush it off. But when someone who once shared a stage with you, or at least shared a mutual vibe, laughs at your expense, it hits differently. It's like your friend doubles over laughing as you're face down in the mud. And Rogan wasn't chuckling politely. He found South Park's take painfully funny, enough to openly praise the episode and call attention to it on his massively influential platform. For Trump, whose whole brand relies on loyalty and image, that kind of public shift, that's a slap you can't wave off. But it's not just Rogan's personal twist. It symbolizes something bigger. Rogan's reaction taps into a broader phenomenon. Trump's loss of grip over cultural supporters he once treated as allies. Even in media spaces that flirted with anti-establishment rhetoric, once an area where Trump thrived, the tide seems to be turning. People watched Rogan, someone often associated with themes that aligned easily with Trump's political base, laugh at a satire that shredded Trump's persona. It's little things like these, not election results or poll numbers, but moments of shared public ridicule that show how pop culture power really works. And here's the kicker. Rogan's audience isn't filled with die-hard anti-Trumpers. It's made up of people from all corners. Those who love Trump, those who hate him, and a big chunk of those who are stuck in the middle. So when Rogan laughs, people notice. And more importantly, they think twice about why. It sends a quiet ripple that says, hey, if that guy no longer takes this seriously, maybe it's okay for me to laugh too.
Back at Comedy Central South Park after the season premiere, the episode Wednesday included a scene showing President Trump lying in bed with Satan, who also had a previous relationship with Saddam Hussein on the show.
Also, the creators at San Diego Comic-Con, which has just finished, well, they had this to say after the outrage. One of the reasons they don't care, they just signed a deal for $1.5 billion to make sure that the cartoon, like the one that came out last week, will be in the place where you can watch it in the United States and around the world.
That ripple matters. It matters because once someone like Rogan detaches from the narrative orbit of Trump, the sense of invincibility around Trump starts to crack bit by bit. If you dig into the numbers, you'll notice something interesting. Comedy and satire tend to thrive best when they feel justified. A joke isn't just random, it sticks because it feels earned. In Trump's case, years of headlines, controversies, and brash public behavior have come full circle. South Park delivered a wild roast, but Rogan's laughter signals a cultural shift where people aren't afraid to laugh openly anymore, even if they previously hesitated. It's not just about dishing out jokes, it's about who joins in, and Rogan's public endorsement of the humor gives it a surprising weight. And if Rogan's laugh is any indication, Trump's place in that conversation is starting to shift into unfamiliar territory, a cultural realm where his narrative no longer reigns supreme. So where does Trump go from here? Well, maybe South Park isn't the creator of his darkest moment, but with people like Rogan joining in, it's safe to assume the echoes won't die down anytime soon. Satire has a way of exposing cracks in even the most polished facades, and for Trump, this moment proves just that. that. When humor turns against power, it strips away the illusion of control, leaving even the boldest figures vulnerable. South Park didn't just mock Trump, they reminded everyone how laughter can undercut even the loudest voices. But here's the question: what does this say about satire's role in shaping public opinion? Whether you love or hate Trump, moments like these show why comedy remains one of the strongest tools for speaking truth to power, and maybe, just maybe, nobody's untouchable.